So, what's it like to be Rainbow?
Awesome. In real life, it's crazy because I'm just covered in tracking dots the whole time. So it looks like I have like a weird version of the chicken pox, but then it ends up looking great on TV. So cool.
On top of that, I guess so gay icon, Rainbow Bright.
Thanks.
How does that feel?
Amazing. I mean, Lyrica and I, from the beginning of season 1, were like, I think it was always Josh and Steph's intention to write that relationship out, but her and I from the beginning were like, we need to push this, because her and I both read the comics, and like we shipped Nico and Karolina, and obviously most people do, I hope. So we were really pushing for that to be explored, and this season it's explored so much more than it was last season, to the point where Karolina and Nico are living above Alex in a bedroom. So it's really thrown in Alex's face that I stole his girl. But it's really awesome to explore that. Just to have the representation, I think, is so important, and the fan response has been really, really amazing. It's great.
Another big part of Karolina's journey in season 1 was discovering her identity. How does that kind of play, not just sexual, but also being an alien?
Yeah.
How does that play into season 2?
Well, season 1, she was definitely like afraid to embrace all of those things, and in season 2, she stops caring about that. I think they're living on their own now. They're not worried about living up to any expectation their parents may have placed on them. So this season, they're just fully embracing everything about themselves. There's even a line that Karolina has this year where she says, I'm tired of being afraid of my powers, afraid of like people labeling me as different because of like my family background. I'm half alien. That's what makes me so special. Like, I'm embracing it. So yeah, they're just unafraid this year, and they kind of have to be when you're 16 and living on the streets of Los Angeles.
Will we see, without giving anything, will we see some interaction between you and Julian?
Yeah.
Okay.
That relationship is explored more this season as well. I think a lot of the questions that were posed in season 1 are answered this year, and a lot of those relationships are fully explored.
You have a pretty big October with the release of Halloween this month. Was there something that you learned kind of on the set of Halloween that you were able to bring to Runaways on set, if that makes any sense?
I didn't learn anything from Halloween other than I'm really afraid of my own closet now, which if you watch the trailer you'll get. Yeah, that one was really fun, but I will say I left a little bit traumatizing to like where to this day, if I'm in bed and my closet is like a little bit open, I'm like, I gotta go check it. So I'll go in and I'll check it, but I'm afraid to open it because that's how he gets me in the movie. So I open it and I just like put my hand in it and I touch everything to make sure Michael Myers isn't in my closet. But that one's good. I'm excited for that.
What's it like to be a part of 2 major franchises now, like the Marvel Universe and Halloween? What's it like? How's your year been managing those 2 franchises?
It's been a really amazing year, and the fact that it's all kind of happening at the same time has been really amazing. And I think Halloween is such an iconic franchise to be a part of, and not only to be a part of that franchise, but to be a part of a really great film within that franchise, and to work with like David, who is a huge fan of the movie, and I think really did the movie justice, is really cool.
Did you get any tips from like Jamie Lee Curtis or John Carpenter?
Jamie Lee is just a badass. Like, she's just like a badass woman and is so badass in that movie. She's just like such a force to have on set, and to be working with someone that's like so iconic and knows that character so well. She's awesome.
So the other Runaways don't necessarily have anything that they need from their parents at this point, but with Karolina, with her just finding out about her background, she kind of needs that. We see her struggle with not wanting to be involved with her parents, but also kind of needing to...
Yeah, she's kind of sneaking around a little bit to try to develop that relationship with her dad without the other Runaways knowing, but I do think she gets a little bit isolated this season because she's the only one that still needs that relationship, and it's very easy for all of them to label Jonah as evil, but for Karolina, that's her dad, and she needs to learn where she came from him. So I don't think it's as easy for her to just label him as evil and walk away. So this season, she definitely has a little bit of a push-pull between, what her relationship with her dad is going to be.
Obviously, Karolina has a relationship with Nico, but is there anyone else on the team that we'll see her grow close with this season?
I think there's always a little bit of a special bond between her and Molly, because Molly is the only other person that has those kind of powers within her, like in her DNA. So I think there's always a little bit of a special bond there. But then on top of that, all of the Runaways this year are really close. I feel like we were all 6 of us, because last season there was a lot of us with our parents. This season it's a lot of us together in the same place. So this season I feel like we really just become one unit.
now that your characters are kind of like all like living together in this kind of intense like space, like how is the group dynamic now that you're all together kind of in this intense scenario?
It's a family, so there's fights and there's a lot of disagreements and but a lot of love also. I think what separates our show from a lot of other Marvel shows in particular is that it's not just action. There's actually a lot of like, it feels like a family show. It feels like a teen drama still. So you get a lot of like really heartwarming episodes this year as well, not just action episodes. You do see like the family that we're trying to grow between the six of us.
So in the first episode of the season, one of the scenes that I loved the most is when they had to go to, I guess, a soup kitchen type thing, and you kind of got to see the reality of being runaways. And did that kind of help set the tone for the season of not just being like these kids that have powers, but like actually having to live on their own and see what poverty was like in Los Angeles?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the way that the show is shot this season, you see a lot more of that side of Los Angeles also. It's not, last season was mansions in Brentwood, and this season it's like soup kitchens and Griffith Park and, you know, downtown LA, and it feels grittier. It feels like you're seeing more of that reality. And I also think, you know, it's still a TV show, so there's hair and makeup involved, but I think it's less glam than it was last year. This season, it definitely is more. We're on the streets, we're surviving. It feels gritty, and it feels like we're trying to find our footing within that new circumstance.
With Karolina getting, you know, used to these powers, will we see them grow throughout the season?
Yeah. Like I said, there's so much more flying this season than there was last season, and glowing, and everyone is kind of honing in on their powers and finding out what they're actually capable of. For Karolina especially, she has a full arc this season of discovering what she can do, and there's episode, I think it's like 212, where she figures out the full extent of her powers and what she's capable of. And I don't think she's still even like maxed out on what she can do, but she's definitely really growing and learning how to use what she was born with.
Is she rainbow every time she uses her powers?
It depends on what. If she's just going like this, like the hand will be rainbow, but sometimes she'll like do one of these things and then it's like full body rainbow. Honestly, I think it depends on how much money is in the budget. That's what happens.
Has there been more like stunt coordination this season?
Yeah.
Like the flying and things like that?
Huge. Last season we never even fully had a stunt rehearsal because we didn't ever really need them. It wasn't that involved. And this season we had so many stunt rehearsals. We were all pretty beat up after a few action sequences. So it's it's a season on steroids for sure.